Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. And we have our good old friend Iain from Ranking the Obscure back to do another top 10. How are you doing, Iain?
I'm doing well, Richard. Very well.
Good stuff. 2 weeks ago we did a video on Mike Chapman, his top 10 songs, and that was my idea. But to be fair, then we thought, right, Iain, you can choose for the next one. And so we have decided to do
Genesis.
Oh, yes. Genesis. So Genesis, their first album, I think, was 1969, wasn't it?
It certainly was.
Yes, and then
it ended up in the religious basket.
Yeah, yes, it did. It was more like a Bee Gees album, I thought, but still, it was not bad. And then they did this thing in 1997, and I can't remember calling all stations.
Yeah, I've got it on CD, but yeah, it's
okay.
I've not got anything off the first album either. Mine is that from Trespass at We Can't Dance.
Okay.
Because I couldn't. I've really set myself parameters on this one because I could have picked a whole album. Okay. So I've only allowed one track off an album.
Right. No, well, I haven't. I have a specific set of 3 albums, which are my 3 favorites, and they all come after each other in their discography. I don't know if you know what they are. I'm not going to say, but you will know by the end what my 3 favorites are.
Yes.
I'm quite heavy off them, but to be honest, I've got a good range in my top 10, and the 3 bubbling unders, we'll see what they are. Now, unlike last time, I have not got a clue what Iain has picked, which is good. I've had a guess at his number 1. I've guessed Supper's Ready, but I just do not know. And he hasn't got a clue what I picked either. So, shall we start?
I certainly think we should.
Okay. Do you want to go first, Iain?
Yeah. Okay. As I said, this has been difficult because I have loved Genesis. So my number 10 comes off this album, We Can't Dance. And it is Driving the Last Spike.
Okay.
I like railways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a story of building the railways in Britain. But what it has got on it is some beautiful Tony Banks keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
Some phenomenal drumming from Phil. The tempo changes just freak me out. And it's Genesis still doing good old-fashioned prog, but in 1991. And that's why I love that track off this album. I mean, there's too many to think on here that are really good. It was a very strong album to Phil end up on, I think.
That's a genuine double album as well. I believe it's nearly 80 minutes long, isn't it? Or is it?
Yeah. There's one track on there I can't stand, but the rest of it is pretty good.
Can I guess? Jesus, He Loves Me, or Jesus?
No, that's a second. I don't like Hold On to My Heart.
Okay. That was a hit single as well, I believe.
I know. I just think it's a lot of dribble. It's boring.
Okay.
But that's in my opinion. I know there's people out there love it, but I think you can see where my sort of Genesis comes.
Well, with regards to Genesis, I first heard Genesis around 1980 when my brother was big into the 70s Genesis. So he had Selling England by the Pound, and then there were 3, and Duke. And I couldn't stand them. I really could not stand. There was a few songs I liked, but the Peter Gabriel stuff, it really, it got on my nerves. I just thought it was noodling. And then, obviously, as the 80s progressed, Genesis became quite successful in the singles charts. And I thought some of their singles were good, but I never bought the albums. But going back to my number 10, and it is from this album here, Trick of the Tail, and it is the second song, Entangled, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. Now, it's a Hackett Banks song. I think it's mostly Steve Hackett, and it's very acoustic. And the verses, the backing acoustic on the verses, it's got a very almost wintry sound. You can almost feel or hear the snowfall. It's absolutely beautiful. and the vocals are magnificent, and they're double layered, I think. Well, at least double layered over the chorus, or maybe it's them all singing. But it's so melodic and so beautiful, and it gets my number 10.
That was a contender for mine as well, because there's so many good tracks on that album. Dance on the Volcano, Robbery, Assault and Battery, Los Endos. But my number 9 comes off the same album, Trick of the Tail, and I've gone for The Beautiful Ripples.
Gorgeous song.
Again, it's pastiche. I think Entangled and Ripples are very, very pastiche from that first album, but they've sort of taken what they did there and developed that sound. I think Banks and Rutherford knew what they said, let's do this, I think, and they encountered, but it's gorgeous. It's got some beautiful guitar work from Steve Hackett. Again, I think it's double layered vocals. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous song. It may have been on my list. I'm not telling you if it has.
No, but it is a gorgeous song.
Yeah, no, good choice.
My number 9.
Well, my number 9, and I call this Genesis doing Elton John's "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," and it is from And Then There Were Three, and the song is Undertow, which is, I think it's the second song on the album. Is the vocals are very back in the mix for the verses, but the big chorus is absolutely wonderful. And Phil Collins, he sings his heart out. His voice is fantastic in this song. Absolutely love it. Tony Banks song, and yeah, my number 9. This is one of the very first few that I actually got to really love way back in the day. I just thought it was an exceptional piece of work.
Yeah, it is. It's a great song. There's some great songs on that album again. I mean, I love all Genesis. This has been very hard, actually. Although it's one of my favourite bands, it is so hard to do this. So I'm actually going to pick something on when I did my ranking off the one of my least favourite albums. But there's one track on it that really blows me away. It's off the Invisible Touch album from 1986. And it's Domino.
Right, yes.
I think this is, again, one of these prog tracks. And there's something about Genesis. When they split these songs up, the crossover bit of any of their long songs is always done superb. I mean, on this one, we go from In the Glow of the Night, that gentle pastiche piece, into the last domino. And it's just go, bang, it comes in like a rocket. And I think this sounds a lot better live. I've seen it live at Wembley. They're doing it on stage, and it was phenomenal. But the best version of this is off the live album, The Way We Walk the Longs.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's the definitive version, but this is just a superb song. It's just something about it. I mean, I love the Brazilian off this as well, but to me, Domino is the track I go to.
Mm-hmm. I'm not overly familiar with that. I do have the album, but I haven't really managed to get past the singles. And there must be about 5 singles off that.
Yeah, that's the reason. It got played to death. And when it first came out, I thought, oh, this is really good. This is a bit upbeat, and it's got lots of that prog still, like Tonight. But they get overplayed, and which upsets me a bit. And then people say, oh, I like Genesis, and they've only got that album. And when you say, what about this? What about that? Never heard it. Yeah, go and listen to something else, because there's more to that. Until
some people actually rate that album very, very highly. And some people I've actually heard, I think, Darren Locke say that is their most prog album, Invisible Touch. I know. Well, I can't say it.
Okay. Don't call us, we'll call you.
Right, my number 8 was actually a single. And I'll show the album. I do have the single, but I've got the album here. And released in 1981. And it's from Abba Cab. And it's Keep It Dark, the second single. Which all this is a loop that goes round and round and round and round for the whole song. but it is so effective. Again, the vocals are great. The drumming in this is actually great, and the little bits of synthesizer that come in to complement the actual loop itself, I think it's fantastic. A really, really good song, and it only made number 33 in the charts, but to me, this is the best song off this album.
Yeah, it's not particularly one of my favorite albums, but it has got highlights, and I think Keep It Dark is one of the highlights off that album.
It's so simple because it is just a loop constantly going round and round, and you think, oh dear, this is going to be dreadful, but it draws you in, and I've always loved it.
I think it's Phil Collins' delivery of that vocal.
I agree.
That makes it okay, because he goes into character. Yep. And that's one, you know, he kept that sort of thing from Peter Gabriel. He went into these characters when he was singing, and I think that's why that's good. Again, that is really good live.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually heard the live version of it.
Yeah, I've got it on from the Mama tour. I played it on that. It's pretty good. Okay, where are we? Number 7, aren't we?
Yes.
I think on me, yeah. Okay, I've gone for a single this time. Again, this album is from the Genesis album, 1983. Big contenders on here. That's All, Home by the Sea. But I've gone for the first track, and one reason only. I've seen it live, and it blew me away. Mama.
Fantastic song.
It's I'm not a great fan of drum machines, but Phil programmed it beautifully for this to give it atmosphere. And then when he does come in on the drums, it's just wow, the combination. But the best thing about this is it live when he's doing the laughing, because I love that horrible laugh.
Yeah, whenever I first heard that single, whenever it came out, I just was blown away by the ha-ha. I thought it was unbelievable. I'd never heard anything like that on a record before, and I thought it was...
At Wembley, he went up to a thing, and a bright yellow light come up, and his face was on the screens. It just added to it. It is just I mean, there's a lot of mixed tracks on this, but there's a couple on here that I just love. Mama and Home by the Sea are just cool off this album.
There's one song I can't stand off it, and it's Illegal Alien. I think it's dreadful.
Oh, yeah, it's one of these days I might do one on my channel, the worst Genesis songs, and that'll be in there along with Who Done It.
Yeah. Okay, we're rattling through these very quickly. My number 7 is not actually on an album. It's on an EP, and it's from the Pigeon EP. And can you guess
what I picked up the other week?
Can you guess the song? Inside and Out. Correct. I absolutely love this song. It's got 2 verses and 2 choruses. The verse is so melodic, it's absolutely beautiful. It's like an acoustic feel again. And then you think the verse is melodic until you hear the chorus, and it is gorgeous. And that goes on for 4 minutes. And at the end of 4 minutes, you do like a bit of a jam at the end of it, which at the start I wasn't keen on, but it's all part of the song now, and it's a very acoustic-y type jam as well. I absolutely love this, and to me, this should have been on Wind and Wuthering. I think this was released in 77, and Wind and Wuthering was 76. And okay, the title track of the EP is, or the main track is Match of the Day, which is a good single. It's a good pop song. But Inside and Out is an absolutely fantastic song, and I absolutely love it, and it gets my number 7.
Yeah, that sort of missed out even on Bubbling Under. I was debating about that one because it's a lovely song, and you're right, it should have been on Wind and Wuthering.
Yeah,
some lovely stuff. Right, I got these in the wrong order. I thought I had. Right, next one up is from one of my favorite 80s albums by the band. We are talking about Duke.
Yeah.
Again, so many great songs on this, especially, Duke's Travels Duke, and it's just a phenomenal piece of prog. But I've gone for a single on it. Okay, I don't do this very often, but it's Turn It On Again
That's a great song.
because I love that chunky start. The first thing you get Phil going 1, 2, dun 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 dun. It just gets you.
Yeah, that song actually does take me back to 1980. It's almost got a little bit of a new wavy feel to it. And it wasn't out of place with all the new wave bands. I just thought it was a really, really good single.
Yeah, I mean, this album, I think this is the last real stab at prog that Genesis did. And it is a very, very good album. There's 2 tracks on here that I don't like. It's when Phil was going into his deep with his marriage breakup. You know, he did like to wear his dirty washing in public. But on the whole, there's some great tracks on here. The only one I don't like on here is Misunderstanding.
That was the big hit in America as well.
Yeah, it just didn't fit on this album. It should have gone on a Phil Collins album.
Apparently, I was watching a documentary about Duke, and Tony Banks was saying if he had been offered In the Air Tonight, it would definitely have got on that album. And then Phil Collins says, what's he talking about? I did offer it and they didn't want it. So I'm glad, because the Phil Collins Face Value album for me beats anything that Genesis had done in the 1980s. I know, I think it's a fantastic album, but yeah, no, excellent choice. Right, my number 6 is from 1973, and it's from Selling England by the Pound. And it is Firth the Fifth, which is an absolutely beautiful number. That tinkling piano, it's almost like a classical piece. And then it really does sort of sink down and gets quite heavy and almost dirgy vocals by Peter Gabriel. And then there's a beautiful flute solo in the middle of it before that tinkling piano comes back, but it's more like a synthesized version of it. It's a fantastic album. Yeah, but it's a really brilliant song. And that gets my number 6. Banks and Rutherford.
That is my favourite album by Genesis. I picked that one, but because you've picked that one, I have got a reserve. Got a reserve.
Go with it. Just go with your normal ones, because it'll be interesting to see how many we actually pick together.
Okay. So my number 5. We're going back into the dark days of prog now. This is my era. We're going to The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Your Canadian
version.
Yes.
Which I picked up for $5.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and it's the beautiful Carpet Crawlers.
Yeah. Oh, gorgeous song.
I think that's Peter Gabriel's finest vocal performance in Genesis, without a doubt. I love Tony Banks's keyboards on this. It's beautiful.
It is, yeah.
It's pastiche. Again, taking them early years and doing something even better with it.
Yeah.
I adore that track. I mean, on this album, there are some great tracks. In the Cage is another favourite of mine. The Broadway Melody of 74. And I love the keyboard bit in the Colony of the Slipper Man from Tony Banks. Absolutely sublime. Good way for Peter Gabriel to sign off. It's not my favourite Genesis album, but it's one of my favourites. And it's one of them albums, though, you can't play odd tracks. You put it on and you have to play the lot.
You have to play the lot, exactly.
It's a brilliant album.
Excellent.
This is the Canadian version for $5.
It's not the Canadian version, is it? Okay, my number 5, another single, and yes, this is smooth, but I love it. It's from, and then there were 3, and it's Follow You, Follow Me. Now, this may have been overplayed, but I have never got fed up with it. It's mostly Mike Rutherford's song, but with Collins and Banks also getting a credit. The guitar on it is gorgeous. Again, Phil Collins's voice is gorgeous, but it's so smooth. It really is. And this brought in a lot of new fans for them as well, especially female fans, because it is like a love song and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And yes, it has to get my top 5, so it gets number 5.
Yeah, I like the song, but I prefer others on that album. It was a different turn for them, and it's sort of, 1978, Prog was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire what they did. I mean, it's not my favorite era of the band, but they kept with the times, and that's why they lived on to until Phil finished not so long ago. It is a good album, and it started the change for them. And I respect that.
I agree. I think Duke really started the change for them. I think, and then there were 3 was the last of the prog albums. There's some proggy bits in there as well, like Burning Rope and so forth. But Duke was the first pop album, I think. But yeah, I love the song. Follow You. Follow.
Okay, my number 4 is one of my favorite albums that Steve Hackett played on, and it was his last. The wonderful Wind and Wuthering. Again, an album full of great tracks that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to say like Blood on the Rooftops. I love the lyric to that. It's wonderful. The 11th Earl of Mars, wonderful. But the track I've gone for on here is a track called One for the Vine. Again, beautifully sung by Phil. Some great guitar work from Mr. Hackett. But the bit that really gives me the buzz is there's a middle section of this where it starts off with Tony on the piano and Phil coming in on the drums. And then it goes into this great crescendo where the keyboard check goes from piano to keyboard. And some of the drum fills that Phil does that on that solo are incredible. It is a sublime track, and it is the best track on this album.
Yeah, that's an excellent song. Totally agree with everything you say.
Yeah, it's just that dun 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 dun. Then that you get that from Phil, and then he goes straight back into the normal bill.
Yeah, there's almost like a little industrial part in the middle that breaks it all up and then brings it back again.
Yeah, Phil had this knack. He's a very underrated drummer. I forget about his drumming. He could do a beat, go and do something else, and go straight back into the original beat. There's not many drummers can do that. Neil Peart can. Phil Collins can.
Yeah.
The late, great Alan White.
Yeah.
There's a handful. You can cut Pete on one hand that can go off and do something else and then come back to the original beat.
Okay, my number 4 is from the Landmines down on Broadway, and it's not the Carpet Crawlers. According to this, it's the Carpet Crawl. I don't know what it's called. It's either the carpet.
What's it say on mine?
It says Carpet Crawl on mine, and then
Carpet Crawlers, and my British version, the original says Carpet Crawlers. It is Carpet Crawlers.
I think you said it all with this song. It is absolutely fantastic. The chorus at the end, you got to get in to get out. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I will admit the first version I heard of this was the live version on, and then there were 3, and I loved it every bit as much. No, sorry, the live version. Seconds out, yeah, and I love it every bit as much. However, I'm not overly fussed on. Have you heard the 1999 version?
Yeah.
Not keen.
No, I thought,
yeah,
and then I went, no.
Sorry. It's the instrument backing. It's just too up to date, really.
Yeah, it didn't need that.
Magnificent, absolutely magnificent. Okay, number 3 then, Iain. What have you got?
Well, it's an album we've already looked at.
Mm-hmm.
It is my favourite Genesis album of all time, selling England by the pound. I could have picked the whole of this album, to be quite honest. I mean, ones I was looking at, Dancing with the Moonlit Night, the Cinema Show, but like you, I've gone with Get this right, I always muck this one up, the Firth of Fifth. It's like you said it all, but it's a beautiful piano start. And the only Genesis never did that themselves live, but Steve Hackett, when his band do it, it always starts off with that beautiful piano piece.
Yeah.
But I think the one reason I picked this is Steve Hackett's guitar solo. The best thing ever did.
Yeah, excellent.
It flows. It's everything that defines Genesis at the time. Can't get enough of that track.
Yeah.
And I mean, when they play it live, you know, now, well, they did. Daryl Sturmer did a fine job on it as well. Because Mike Rutherford as a guitarist, as a lead guitarist, don't rate him. Bass player, I do. But Daryl Sturmer played a lot of them great Hackett solos on the medleys.
Yeah.
It's just a fantastic song.
It's a really, really good album. You know, it's probably Gabriel's most accessible album as well, I think, for the non-fan. It's the easiest to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the quirky I Know What I Like. It's so quirky.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Was a hit single as well, believe it or not.
I remember that in the charts. The other thing I like about on this is Cinema Show, the keyboard run in that as well from Tony. Some great playing.
I also really like the small or the short Phil Collins led, is it known, More Fool Me?
Lovely little track.
Yeah, beautiful. But
beautiful album. Can't get enough of that. Play that so much.
Well, my number 3, and it comes from this album, Wind and Wuthering. I think it's the first time I've shown this. Yes, it is. And it's the final track, Afterglow, the Tony Banks song. It's an absolute epic finisher of a song. And honestly, I don't think Phil Collins has sung any better. It's beautiful. I don't know why it was not a single, because to me, it's a top 5 single if it ever was one. You know, they went with Your Own Special Way, which is a good song, and I really enjoy it. But Afterglow stands out. And
Afterglow, Your Special Way. Yeah. Oh, it's Afterglow every time. It's brilliant live as well, because they played at the end of the medleys. It's a great way to end that medley that they did.
Yeah, fantastic song, really good.
Right, time for number 2. We're going back even further in time now.
Right.
We're going back to the very first album that Phil and Steve played on. The wonderful.
Can I guess the song?
Go on.
I will go The Musical Box.
Spot on, sir. It is just a piece of genius.
Yeah, that's a great song.
What I like about this, you don't just get Peter singing on it, you get Phil doing the backing. When that Here It Comes Again, lovely tune. Again, Steve Hackett's guitar solo on this is phenomenal. The bass line from Mike Rutherford on this is just terrific. That's what he's a great prog bass player. He hits them notes and it drives that song along. I mean, there's so many contenders on this as well as my favorites. The Return of the Giant Hogweed, The Fountain of Samosas. But to me, it is The Musical Box every time. And I love the closing. Especially, She's a Lady, She Is Mine, Brush Back, I Want to Get to Know Your Flesh. Creepy lyrics, but what a performance. And I love how it ends, like an orchestral, it builds up to that final piece. And then it just goes, boom, and away it goes. Phenomenal song.
Yeah, excellent choice. That was a contender for me, but it just failed in the end. My number 2 is from this album, Trick of the Tail, and it's the first Genesis song that I actually got to like, and it's Squonk.
Oh, brilliant. I
I
love
believe
Swamp.
that's the song that Phil Collins actually did a guide vocal for whenever they were auditioning people to sing for the band. And then they realized, hold on a minute, this guy's singing it better than any of them, so we'll have him. I just think it's really good. It's actually a very, very bass-driven song. It's quite a heavy song. But whenever you get that, whenever he sings "I Don't Stand a Chance," the keyboard on it is magnificent. I could listen to this. I think it's about 6 minutes long or 5 minutes long. It could go on for another five. Absolutely love it. And his vocals, again, are brilliant. So that's my number two.
Yeah, they opened up with that on their shows for many of year, Squonk. And again, it's another great track that's brilliant live. My number one then.
Okay, it has to be Supper's Ready.
You can tell by that track. Fantastic track. I'm not going to say where it fits with the rest of the prog songs, because I'm hopefully going to do a little show with Young Joe. So I'm not going to say where it sits with all my other prog songs, but as a Genesis song, it's my number one. There's so many good pieces at this.
Yeah.
Probably the best thing Peter Gabriel ever wrote. It starts off, I've got to refer to my notes because I can never get this right. Lover's Leap. Walking across the sitting room. Wonderful. Again, this has got a lovely crossover between How Dare You Be So Beautiful and Willow Farm. Turns a narcissus into a flower. It's the highlight of this song, and a calls of couplets in 9/8 just ends this dramatic piece of prog genius.
I really enjoy it, but I have to be in the mood for that song. I really do. I just can't play it anytime. I'm going to say something here which you'll probably shoot me for it. I think I prefer the live Seconds Out version with Phil Collins singing it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Phil does a great version of it. Musically, I think that version on Seconds Out is better than that.
Yeah.
There's more atmosphere. And the other version, and there's a version that Steve Hackett does it in his live show. And Steve Hackett plays beautifully still on it. And Nad Sylvan, who does the singing for the Genesis songs, who can sing like Phil 1 minute and Peter the next. And when he sings that, there's a mixture in between of both for different parts. And it's a phenomenal track.
I also find that Phil Collins' voice is not that different to Peter Gabriel's.
No, and I think that's how they carried it off.
Yeah. But okay, excellent choice. I had an idea that would be your number one. I said that on your live stream, I think.
Yes, you did, and I just sort of smiled. I mean, I spoke to Dave afterwards. He says, yeah. He said he knows you, and he already he knows what you like.
Do you want to have a guess at my number one? Now that you've seen all the ones that I have picked,
right?
I'll give you a clue. You've already shown it yourself.
Have I? Whoa, gold. One for the Vine.
Spot on. That's my number one choice. I was very quiet whenever you were talking about
this. I think that's what gave it away.
Oh, absolutely love this. 9 minutes and 59 seconds of pure genius. And again, it's the vocals. I absolutely love Phil's vocals, especially when he almost does a falsetto when he's singing Follow Me. I'll let you into a secret. For years, I always thought he was singing Valerie instead of Follow Me. But no, absolutely love it. Yeah, you said it all whenever you were going through the number 5 or number 4 or whatever it was. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely adore this song. And you probably guessed that my favorite period for Genesis are the three albums: Trick of the Tail, Wind and Wuthering, and then there were three. Those are my three. That whole section with the Seconds Out album stuck in the middle, which is my favorite live album there. So
yeah, that's my. I think when I rank those live albums, I think Seconds Out was my top of the pile. There's reasons for it. Production wise on it, it's fantastic.
yeah,
Phil Collins sings the Peter songs. Fantastic.
I think so as well. I think he does a really good. It's so sad to see him now, you know, sitting on the chair singing.
I've got Brave. I'm very
like a crooked man. Dreadful.
Yeah. I don't. There's one day when I have to do a certain show, and that'll just break my heart.
Yes, I don't know, but right. Have you got a few bubbling unders?
I've got three because there's three albums of that little collection. Basically, it's that little collection that I've. It's my favourite era. The whole lot. We're going back even further now. This is the album that features John Mayhew on drums, and Anthony Phillips, who is a fine guitarist. And I don't think if it wasn't for his nervous, I don't think he would have left Genesis, and we wouldn't have got Steve Hackett.
Well,
we would have got him as a solo artist, but Anthony Phillips is a fantastic guitar player. And the track I've gone for on this album is The Knife.
Yeah, that's the most famous one of it.
Yeah, it's the heaviest track they ever did.
I know, it's very good.
Highlights on this, again, Mike Rutherford's bass. It's just booming. And the guitar solo from Anthony Phillips on this is wonderful. It's heavy, it's hard. But when you get a look on some of the other tracks, like Stagnation,
yes,
where he plays the pastiche sort of stuff.
Yeah, some of it's quite folky.
Yeah, this is that crossover where they've still got little bits from the first album. But I think this is the album that really set the stall for Genesis. Oh. People don't like it. I love it because it's got so much good stuff on.
No, I do. I actually prefer that to Nursery Crime. I struggle with Nursery Crime apart from the musical box, and that one I can listen to much easier. It's a very, very good album.
I mean, I love Looking for Someone.
Yeah,
that opening 2 seconds of Peter Gabriel sets the tone. It just really sets the tone for the album. It is just a fantastic track.
You want to do your two other bubbling unders, and then I'll do.
Okay. My next one comes from this little beauty.
Yes, fantastic album.
It is a great album, and I'm going for the very last track on the album. The Lady Lies.
Yes, that's a very good song.
There's just something about this song. It's a story. It's a fairy tale. Again, some great drumming and keyboard work from Tony and Phil, respectively, on this. But again, it's Phil Collins' vocal from playing the good guy to the bad person.
This is when Phil Collins was cool. Really cool.
Yeah, and I've seen clips. I never saw them play this, but I've seen obviously clips on YouTube where this is where the front man Phil Collins is at his best, because he gets everyone geared up. You know, when he introduces the bad guy, hey, the bad guy, and it's just fantastic. He's a showman. He was a brilliant showman, and that is why it's Lady Lies. It could have got it just missed out on my top 10. And my last bubbling under is actually sort of the album that I ranked at the bottom, and I got some stick for this. It's Abba Cab, the album. There's only, I think on here, there's only about 3 tracks I really, really like. Abba Cab itself, fantastic track. Yeah. Love this version better than the single where they cut off the best bit of the song. But I've actually cheated here. I'm allowed to cheat now and again, I suppose.
Way.
I've actually picked Dodo Lurker because you can't mention one without the other, I don't think.
Yes, well, don't worry, I'm going to cheat as well.
But the reason being, it's that crossover between the two tracks. You know, Meal was, them two eyes stared at me in the mud, and this is what it said. And you get that lovely keyboard from Tony.
No,
it's just a phenomenal track.
Good track. My three might be a little bit of a surprise, one of them anyway. And it's from Foxtrot. This is the furthest I'm going back. And it's Can Utility and the Coastliners. And to me, it's a breath of fresh air on this album because I find this album quite hard-going as well. I think Peter Gabriel's vocals are great, especially when he goes high, you know, when he's singing the high notes. And it's not that long. I think this is actually Steve Hackett's song.
Yes, because Steve Hackett actually now plays it in his set.
I do like things like Watcher of the Skies, but even it starts off for about a minute and a half with almost organ type music.
The Mellotron from Tony.
Mellotron. Is it the Mellotron? And yeah, but Can Utilities and the Coastliners, it for me is the best one off this, including Supper's Ready. I know, but this is the one that very nearly got in the top 10. It was between this and Entangled, but I had to go with Entangled.
It's definitely a deep cut track off that album. It's the one that no one seems to remember. The other bit on that album is the bit before Supper's Ready.
Yes, I know. Forgotten about it.
Bit. Yeah.
Yes. You know, everyone thinks Supper's Ready takes up the whole of the side. It doesn't. It's the second track.
Yeah, that bit. I mean, Steve Hackett plays that today.
Yeah.
As well. And he's actually put it on one of his classical albums, just that little piece.
Is that right? Oh, yeah. Great.
It's a short, but he must love playing it because it is a beautiful piece of music. Short but sweet, but perfect.
Right, since you cheated, I'm going to cheat as well because I don't think you can have one without the other either. And it is Behind the Lines and Duchess. No, because they go into each other. And the Duchess single I like, but I prefer it whenever it's connected to Behind the Lines. I know it's a big epic opener and it should be an opener for nearly every Genesis concert, I would think. And I also love the Phil Collins studio version of Face Value. I just think it's a fantastic song, and as is Duchess as well. So to me, that's my other one. And I haven't quite made up my mind yet, but the next one is going to be, and what will I give it to? I'm going to give it to this one. Going back to this album again, and it's Burning Rope from side one, which is a song, really good. Another Tony Banks song. You see, that's what I mean. These late 70s albums for me are the creme de la creme for Genesis. You know, not a bad song at all on any of them.
No, I think that album was actually the one that Tony Banks really came into his own. After Steve Hackett had gone, there was none of that proggy sort of thing. And I think Tony Banks really drove some of them songs because
I honestly think the song Afterglow helped them as well because it was such a melodic piece. And don't forget, he did one for the Vine, my all-time favorite Genesis song, which is melodic in itself, but it is a prog song because it's that long. But after Afterglow, I think he just found this melodic touch, and especially on And Then There Were Three, because Undertow itself is also a Tony Banks song. And to me, he was the most melodic of all the writers. However, he is the one who had the abysmal solo career. Okay, well, that's it. That's our top 10 Genesis. Well, do you want to tell everybody about your channel again, Ian, and maybe what's coming up?
Oh, yeah, well, this week it's all about little bits. It's very British this week because of the Jubilee. The only thing that's not British, and it's sort of connection with the royal family. So on Monday, we are doing Arena, which is a prog rock band that's got Clive Nolan in it. And more famously, Mick Pointer, the very first drummer of Marillion. We're doing a classic album next week on Who's Next? The Who.
Fantastic album.
Because it is very British and a great album from that era. Then Tuesday. Now, this is a request from a lot of the guys on the live stream. They wanted me to do Stone Roses. We were going to do a retro and then said, no, let's do the whole album because all the tracks are worth talking about on them 2 albums. So we're doing that. And then we got a special retro ranking on Tuesday. We're doing Cliff Richard.
That's one I'm looking forward to.
Because he has made had records in every decade as long as the Queen's been on the throne.
Yeah.
So I went to do 20 because it's too hard just to do 10. So that's what we're doing. Then Wednesday, it's the marathon day, and we've been doing that series on Eric Clapton. For your guys on your channel, well, what I do, we do like a story. We go through a certain artist's catalogue, and we've been doing Eric Clapton for the last few weeks. So we've done the Yardbirds, Cream, Derek and the Dominoes. And this week we're looking at his solo albums, all his solo albums. Then Thursday, we're doing 2 good bands on the Battle of the Bands debut albums. We're doing Big Country and Simple Minds, both Scottish bands, and wrote some phenomenal stuff during the 80s, but we're looking at particularly their first 2 albums. Then we got, as we know, I don't know if you know, we do an artwork thing on Thursdays. This Thursday, it's been done by, as you know, Dave, Mastermind Dave, as Charles calls him in the live stream, Mr. McGuru. We've gone through covers again. We've called it The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly, because it's one of my favourite films. So we've got 25 iconic album covers from during the Queen's reign, 25 bad ones, but not, they just bad, they're remembered for being bad. And then we got 20 horrendous ones. The stinkers. Of all the artwork shows I've done, the stinkers, people love the stinkers because we come up with some absolute belters. Again, we had so much fun doing it. Then on Friday, it's Ian Gillan Live, the live albums of Mr. Ian Gillan, including the Ian Gillan Band and Gillan. And then it's a new album review of Zeit by Rammstein. Okay, they're German, but the royal family is actually Saxon-Gothenburg, only changed because of a certain mad Kaiser. So that's what's happening next week. There's no live stream this week because yours truly is out on the source.
You're on the Raz, yes. I heard about it.
Yes. So for you guys on Richard's channel, come and join us on the other one because I'm sure me and Richard will be working together quite a lot.
I will put a link under this one for your channel. I always check in on the live stream on a Thursday, although there's none this week, as you say, but I can only stay for a while because I have to go to work. So I'm usually there.
People, it is a lot of fun. It's all open to you guys. I've got my friend Dave, who's a fellow countryman of yours, as you know. He sits there in Newcastle, County Down, on his computer, and it's so how quick he comes up with all the stats of what people want.
Yeah,
he's
the Richard Osman of your show.
He certainly is. He is the engine room. I'm the front man of Ranking the Obscure, but if it weren't for Dave, sometimes he does so much work behind the scenes.
Okay, everybody, that's our ranking of the top 10 Genesis songs. I'll leave a link to Iain's channel, Ranking the Obscure, below. Please check it out. It's really, really good. There will always be something there that you'll like. It covers so many ranges of music, from hard rock to even the Bay City Rollers. So there you go. Okay, Iain.
Can I do one more plug before we go?
Yeah, go for it.
Look out for the later, because of Alan White. I am doing this afternoon after this, when I've eaten, I'm going to do a tribute show picking my favourite songs that Alan has drummed on. So that'll be on the channel by tea time. So If any of you guys want to go and love, yes, go and check that out on my channel, Ranking the Obscure. Follow Richard's link.
No problem. Okay, that's me for now, and I hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now, everyone. Bye-bye.